Welcome back to the show. Well, no one wants to find themselves in a situation where they have to call a criminal defense or DUI defense attorney. But if you do, it is good to know your rights and who is there for you.
Like Joe St. Louis, who is here also with us today to talk about this in more depth. Joe, thank you so much for joining us today.
I really appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Well, I want to start out with actually a case that you guys have been working on for 3 years that was just ruled on right now by the Arizona Supreme Court. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, there was a blood lab up in Scottsdale, up in Phoenix, and the equipment was printing out incorrect information all the time. So you would have a blood test coming out with the wrong name on it. It would have the wrong number on it. It would have all the information from one blood test printed out as if it was from a different blood test. And we had a 17-day hearing in front of a judge in felony court in Phoenix. And after that, he thought it was too much. He threw out the blood tests in 11 felony cases. The Court of Appeals came in and they said, nope, the blood comes in and you can't talk about all these problems. So it was kind of the worst of both worlds. So the Supreme Court just fixed this about 2 weeks ago, said we're going to let the blood tests in, but you get to tell the jury about the problems with the machine, the concerns the analysts had where they were writing saying our equipment doesn't work, we can't fix it when it has problems. And so the jury gets to make a decision based on that. That's probably going to be enough. They're probably going to understand what the issues are.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Decision.
I've never heard of that kind of problem before, and so I'm glad you're talking about it today on the show. Are blood tests usually reliable?
You know, the scope of this problem was beyond anything I've seen. I've been doing this for 28 years, and I've never seen anything like what we saw in this lab. But there are a lot of things that can go wrong with a blood test. How you draw it can affect the accuracy if you fill up the tube correctly, if it gets labeled correctly. And then in the laboratory, when they go through the analysis, a blood test isn't like a scale where when you set it once, every answer is going to be correct. Every single little test you run has to be done correctly or you're going to get the wrong answer.
Well, see, and this is why we need someone like you that knows, you know what I mean, what's going on behind the scenes, what happens when we're talking about the blood tests. And, you know, when we say DUI or we're talking about blood tests and things of this sort, a lot of people are thinking maybe drinking and driving. But there's also a higher number of people that are getting these DUIs for prescription medications. Tell us a little bit about that and really how this is becoming more of a trend.
You know, a lot of people take prescription medications. A lot of older people take prescription medications. We're seeing more and more instances where someone gets pulled over for a driving error. The officer tries to put them through these police balance tests, these sobriety tests that we all know about, ends up arresting them because they don't do well on the tests. They have no alcohol in their system, but they have some sort of medication. And it may be, you know, they're taking exactly as the doctor prescribed for them. They've taken it many hours beforehand. It's having no effect on them, but because they're having it in their system, they're getting charged with a DUI for that.
So then this happens to be a case that you might have to go to, right? So like a prescription medication DUI case is a real thing.
I have one on Monday where we're going to be arguing it.
So
yeah.
That's so fascinating. What are some of the issues that you as the attorney are going to have to address?
Well, I talked a moment ago about the balance tests that they give. Those are designed to determine an alcohol level. When many years ago in the 70s, when they were looking into if there was a scientific basis for arresting somebody based on mistakes they made on these type of physical tests, they said we cannot measure driving impairment. Can't be done. But we can decide some of these tests are better than a coin flip at determining if you're over the legal limit or not. There isn't a test that they can give you that says, well, you must have smoked, you know, 3 hits of marijuana. There isn't a test they can give you that says, well, you must have taken Ambien last night. So we have a real issue about what it means when somebody makes a mistake on these tests and they have no alcohol in their system.
See, this is a lot of information that us as just regular people, you know, running around don't really know this. And when you get into a situation, we need someone in our corner. And of course, you and your team do a great job at that. And you actually travel to different states and you do a lot of speaking. So when you do all of this traveling, which is amazing, how does that kind of compare to Arizona? I'm
on what's called the Board of Regents. It's like a board of directors of a group called the National College for DUI Defense. And I get to talk to lawyers who are defending these types of cases from all around the country, and I got to tell you, Arizona has some of the harshest laws, pretty much by design. You know, if you have a DUI, a first-time DUI, depending on your alcohol level, you could be looking at 45 days in jail. And you're going to be hard-pressed to find any other state in the country that has that harsh a consequence when you have a DUI. We really are, I think our legislature sometimes says, how much more can we pile on? How much harder can we make this? And we really have some of the toughest DUI laws in the country.
Wow, Joe, some really important information today, and I'm so glad you came on to share it with us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And now we're going to make sure our viewers can get in touch with you, because to learn more about the Nesci and St. Louis law firm, you can call 622-1222 or log on to azdefense.com.